The movie opens at an old hotel in Los Angeles. It's 1933, in the middle of the Great Depression. A handsome man named Arturo stays at the hotel after going to the city looking for success. He's a young writer with aspirations to write the first novel about Los Angeles. He wants to write about all the people like him, who came to the city looking for something to fulfill their lives. The name of his novel will be The Road to Los Angeles. Arturo has a lot of hope that his novel will bring him fame and wealth. The issue is that he has no money left, and hasn't even started writing. His landlady keeps sending him warning about his debts to her, and Arturo doesn't know what to do. He has no job, and his savings are spent. There's a flashback to when he met the landlady, Mrs. Hargraves, and she thought he was an American. Arturo used his charms to convince her to rent him a room. Months later, Arturo isn't as hopeful and bright-eyed as he once was. Like many artists with great aspirations, Arturo learns that living a dream isn't easy. His neighbor, an old man named Helfrich, shows up in his room with an idea for him to get some free milk. He knows Arturo is struggling, and wants to help him in his own strange way. His idea is that while he's being intimate with the delivery man, Arturo steals the milk from him. Arturo doesn't want to do anything illegal, and would rather Helfrich pays the money he owes. The old man replies that he can't pay him because he doesn't have the money, but he has the milk. Arturo is desperate and doesn't know what to do. When the time comes and the milk delivery man arrives, he has to make a choice. Either he will steal a bottle of milk as Helfrich suggested, or he will go to bed hungry because he doesn't have any money. He goes to bed hungry after writing a few paragraphs of his story. The following day, he has to go to the library to return a book. There, he meets a young woman, very pretty, and she flirts with him. As soon as she learns his surname, though, she changes her behavior. Alone in his room, Arturo prays for his saint to help him come up with a great idea. An idea that will make him rich, famous, and not ashamed of his name. Later on, as he stares at his typewriter, the milkman arrives to meet with Helfrich. Arturo is so hungry his stomach growls. Arturo decides to steal, just this once. He quickly goes to the car and grabs 2 bottles of milk. He makes a toast to his hero, a famous editor, and eagerly drinks. As soon as the milk touches his palate, he spits it out. The milk is spoiled. Arturo can't believe he's so unlucky, and wants to cry. The next day, Arturo is a wreck. He has dark circles around his eyes and a weak disposition. He goes out in the city looking for a place to spend his last nickel, and finds a cafe. He has no will to live anymore. He remembers when he came to Los Angeles, a young handsome man filled with dreams and hope for the future. Arturo orders a coffee with milk, the only thing he can afford, and the waitress brings it. After he pours the milk, Arturo notices it's the same milk from the night before. He stares at it, stunned, but then he starts chuckling at his own bad luck. For the first time since he arrived, he looks at the waitress. She's a beautiful Mexican woman named Camila. Much like Arturo, she's there to live her dreams. Arturo starts calling her, but she ignores him. He notices that she's wearing traditional Mexican sandals and makes fun of her. After a while, Camila finally approaches him again. Arturo makes fun of her sandals, and Camila curses him. When she turns her back, Arturo falls on the table as if her curse worked. Camila pretends nothing happened, but the bartender forces her to check on Arturo. He soon shows her that he was playing with her, then he humiliates her by spilling his drink for her to clean. Arturo leaves without drinking his coffee, and leaves his only money behind. Camila tries to appear unaffected, but it's hard when she's constantly humiliated and looked down upon because of her heritage. Arturo knows exactly how that feels, because people are prejudiced against him too. Arturo goes running back to the pension, feeling inspired for the first time. He always wanted to write about a romance between him and one of the blonde girls in Los Angeles. Meeting Camila with her sandals inspired him. He thinks about her the whole day long. The following day, he returns to the cafe with a book with a message inside for her. He can't go into the cafe because he doesn't have any money. His luck is about to turn, though. When he goes back to the hotel, Helfrich pays back the money he owes. Later on, he goes to the cafe to see Camila again. The bartender gives him a beer on the house because of the milk. She is not happy to see him again. She begrudgingly apologizes for the milk and pours him some more. This time, the coffee is good. Arturo wonders if she read the book he left for her, and says his name. Camila starts talking in Spanish with him, because she thinks he's Mexican too, but he denies it. When he insists to know her opinion about his book, Camila lies that she liked it. She didn't read it. He continues asking what she thought about it, and soon realizes that she lied to him. He gets mad at her, as if she is obligated to read it because he wanted her to. To spite her, Arturo spills the beer he got on the house in the trash. Camila watches him with a nonchalant expression, but deep inside, she's boiling in anger. After he finishes his little show, she goes to the storage room, grabs his book, and rips the pages in front of him. Then, she tosses the ripped pages into the trash. Arturo's heart races inside his chest at her challenging look. She's not one to back down easily. He leaves feeling confused and dizzy. An older man who works at the bar goes after him with his hat and warns him that Camila can't read English. Arturo writes more than he ever did before after meeting Camila. He realized that to write great novels, he needs to live and understand life. With Camila, he feels as if he has a chance to understand romance, something he's inexperienced in. He writes about all the people he met since coming to Los Angeles. Everyone has a story, some harder than others. Arturo's luck is turning. The next day, he receives a letter from his hero saying that he will publish his letter, along with a check for $170. The money will help Arturo survive for a couple of months, but he squanders it. He buys expensive drinks and delicacies, new clothes and shoes. After a day filled with all the enjoyment money can buy, Arturo goes back to the coffee shop dressed up to the nines. Camila cautiously approaches him wearing new pumps. After his mean comments, she spent some extra money to change her sandals so no one would make fun of her again. She wonders if Arturo is still mad at her, but he denies it. He orders an expensive cigar, much to her worry, and allows her to keep the change. Camila doesn't keep the change. She knows he's poor and will need the money eventually. Arturo treats her as if she's beneath him, and for some reason, it hurts her more than his mean comments from before. She points out to him that he's different, more arrogant, and he calls her a Mexican princess. They argue for a moment, because Camila is tired of being seen as less, and Arturo makes a mean comment about her not knowing how to read. She has no answer for that. Once again, he managed to humiliate her. Arturo realizes his mistakes as he sees her walking away in silence with her shoulders hunched over. He quickly regrets his words and goes after her. He gets very close to her and whispers that she should change her shoes, because they don't fit her. She's too good for them. Camila is charmed by Arturo and his compliment. She stares deep into his eyes and caresses his slicked back hair. Arturo freezes. He doesn't know what to do with a woman like Camila, but she knows how to act with a man like him. He believes he's at the top of the pecking order, and that one day he will succeed. There's no if in his life, only when. His naivete is exciting for her. She wants to show him that the world doesn't revolve around him. Camila changes back into her sandals and apologizes to Arturo. She invites him to wait for her shift to end so they can spend some time together. Arturo is shocked and speechless. It's funny to see him lose his smugness. Arturo waits for her in the parking lot and sees the car she described. There's a tag on it with the name Camila Lombard, and he finds it strange. He was told her surname was Lopes. Camila shows up with the bartender, Sammy, much to Arturo's surprise. Camila drops Sammy off, but before he leaves, he gives her a loaded look. Camila goes after him, and they talk very closely while Arturo jealously observes. When she comes back, he wonders about Sammy, and Camila mentions he's just a good friend. Sammy helped her find her job, and he's also a writer. Arturo can't believe there's another writer in town, and that he also has a relationship with Camila. On their way to the beach, they go back and forth in their arguments. They have a lot of fun together. Still, Arturo wants to know more about her relationship with Sammy. Camila refuses to give a straight answer. When they arrive on the beach, they stare at the ocean for a long time. Camila gets closer to Arturo, desiring a kiss from him, but he once again asks about Sammy. She invites him to take a dip into the ocean, and takes her clothes off. Arturo tries to act as if he's accustomed to a beautiful woman without clothes, but he's rather nervous. He eagerly takes off his own clothes and goes after her. The water is agitated. As they swim, a huge wave separates the two of them. Arturo hears Camila asking for help, but he can't find her anywhere in the dark waves. He desperately looks for her everywhere, thinking she drowned. But then she shows up laughing. She says it's payback for when he pretended to be sick at the cafe. As she jokes and laughs at his face, Arturo grabs her head and pushes her under the water. She slaps him, and the two of them almost drown. Camila is mad at him, and says she will never forgive him for that. Arturo is mad at her too, for her terrible prank, because he thought something bad had happened. They go back to the car and get dressed. Arturo walks away, much to Camila's consternation. Before she leaves, she snidely tells him that he deserves to live in a dingy hotel. Arturo retorts that at least Mexicans can't enter his hotel. Arturo arrives at the hotel early in the morning, after walking for miles. He feels ridiculous with expensive clothes full of sand. As he looks in the mirror, he berates himself for being so insecure about his body. He believes that's why Camila laughed at him. He starts writing his novel, this time with a different version of what happened between him and Camila. He writes himself as being a Casanova who makes Camila see stars with his talent between the sheets. Halfrick interrupts his writing when he suddenly shows up in his room. He wants to loan some money to buy more instances, and Arturo agrees. After spending almost all his money on useless things, Arturo only has $10 left. He's feeling down after his awful date with Camila. He also thinks his writing is off and not good enough. He has to do better. In the evening, Arturo goes back to the cafe to meet with Camila again. He enters her car and excitedly waits for her to come out. She does, but she's not alone. Sammy stops her, and the two of them talk about something he asked her to do. Noticing how close they are, Arturo hastily leaves before they can see him. He takes the flower she puts in her hair with him. Arturo feels like a wimp. He has fallen for Camila and her charms, but he can't keep up with her. She's beautiful, daring, and witty, and he's just a loser writer. Back at the hotel, he smells Camila's flower and wallows in self-pity. Someone knocks on his door, and when he opens it, it's a beautiful woman. She enters his room and starts criticizing his work. Arturo has no clue who she is. The woman falls asleep on his bed and he wakes her up. She wants to go out to drink, and Arturo agrees. They take a cab to go to a bar he usually frequents. The bartender knows him. They order their drinks, and the woman starts touching him inappropriately. She compliments his facial features, making Arturo uncomfortable. The bartender serves their drinks. The woman is mad at Arturo because he shook her off. She accuses him of knowing her wounds. Arturo has no idea what she's talking about. To escape the awkward situation, he goes to play pinball with the woman's money. He discreetly asks the bartender if he knows the woman, and the bartender replies that she knows Arturo. One day, when he was at the bar, she heard him talking to another person and got interested in him. She's been following him ever since then. Arturo asks for the bartender's help so he can go away. He sneaks away and runs back to the hotel before she can notice. When he enters his room, the woman is surprisingly there already. She's reading some of his chapters. This time, she enjoys what he wrote. He politely asks her to leave, but she replies that he will learn to love her someday. He has no idea who she is or what she's doing there in his room. After he tries to make her leave, she finally reveals her name, Vera. Vera confesses that she was once like him, filled with dreams and hopes. She moved to Los Angeles to try and live a successful life, but she ended up being a housekeeper for a rich family. She's tired of working for other people. One day, she heard Arturo talking at the bar and decided to read his work. She fell in love with it. Vera believed they were kindred souls and could understand each other. She starts crying and Arturo comforts her. She wants him to compliment her, and he does. He believes many men would be interested in her. Vera doesn't believe him because she has a secret. She takes her clothes off, and a part of her body is filled with scars. Instead of the disgust she was expecting him to feel, Arturo doesn't feel anything for her scars. Vera explains that not even her husband could bear the sight of her body. He believes she was deformed and was disgusted by her. Arturo approaches her and says that she's beautiful. They kiss. Before things can move forward, Vera seems to come back to her senses. She is naked in front of a man she doesn't know, showing him the most intimate parts of herself. Arturo leaves the room so she has privacy to put on her clothes. When he comes back, Vera isn't there anymore. She left a letter behind with Camila's flower, saying that she knows he has a girlfriend but that she wants to see him again. Arturo has no idea what he has to do. His life is already messy enough to get involved with a woman like Vera, who is as lost as him. At the same time, Vera shows him he has more options besides Camila. Vera enjoys reading and she is interested in his writing. He believes they could be a great match. The next day, Arturo wakes up with a spring in his step. He's ready to face the day again. As he walks around town after buying something new for his wardrobe, Sammy approaches him. He mentions that he wants to write like Arturo and would like some pointers. They go back to the hotel so Arturo can give him a copy of his book, and in exchange, Sammy gives him advice about Camila. He says that she's a hard-to-please woman, but she's worth it. In the evening, he goes back to the cafe. Camila is surprisingly happy to see him. Despite his awkwardness and shifting moods, Arturo is fun to mess with. Camila gives him a drink at the house for his help with Sammy, and informs him that the bartender has a disease. Arturo jokes about him passing away, and Camila gets angry at him. Once again, Arturo pretends not to be affected by her, and leaves without taking the drink. He also pays for it. Camila doesn't understand why he's so stubborn, but she's determined to figure it out. After her shift, she goes to his hotel and tosses his money back at him. They argue about him being mean to her, and Arturo snidely says he's disgusted by her. He looks her up and down, as if he doesn't enjoy the view, and hasn't been dreaming about her. Camila is wearing makeup and high heels again. Arturo accuses her of being a cheap imitation of an American, and it offends her. Arturo is jealous of Sammy and keeps mentioning him to her. He remembers the way they seem close and how intimately Sammy described Camila. She's annoyed by his immaturity and prejudice. He doesn't know her or the nature of her relationship with Sammy. He has no right to judge. Arturo begs to differ. Camila explains to him that she would like to have Sammy's name because he's white. His surname is White. With it, people would stop looking down on her. Life wouldn't be as hard for her, or any eventual children she may have. Arturo should understand that, after all, he's also ostracized because of his name. Arturo is too proud to change it. He firmly believes that one day, he will be so great that no one will care about his name. Camila calls him a fool. He's poor, angry, and loud. He certainly wouldn't be a good match for her. At the same time, it's been a while since someone made her so excited. After they offend each other, Camila calls him to come close. Arturo refuses. She accuses him of being afraid of her, and that's a jab at his pride. He lies down next to her and admits he's terrified. She starts caressing him, but he gets nervous again. His heart is beating very loudly, and his mouth runs again. He offends Camila, and she gets angry at him. She mocks the fact that he wants to be a great writer, but can't even be with a woman. As she's leaving, she throws his typewriter on the floor, and that makes Arturo snap. He goes after her, tossing her on the bed, and forcefully holds her. They struggle for a while, but then Arturo starts crying. He can't be intimate with anyone. Camila leaves, and Arturo feels miserable. It's embarrassing for him that she knows his secret. He believes she would be better off with Sammy. The next day, a sad Arturo goes after Vera. She's very happy to see him, and she looks different, brighter. She greets him as if he's the best person in the world. She offers him some milk and takes care of him. Arturo complains about Camila to her, and she listens to everything he has to say. She's the complete opposite of Camila. Vera is sweet and caring, and all she wants is to love Arturo. The problem is that Arturo is in love with Camila, and he knows she's rightfully upset with him. He treats her badly, calling her names only because of her heritage. When Vera finds out, she changes her behavior. She's Jewish, and she's afraid that Arturo will hurt her because of that. Arturo doesn't understand why she's acting like that, and would never bother to hurt her, because she's irrelevant to him. This time, he offends Vera. She wonders why he came to see her if he doesn't even like her, and he explains that he wanted to make someone happy. After the fiasco with Camila, he was feeling emasculated, and wanted to get approval from another woman. Vera is perfect for that, because she's lonely and needy. Vera understands that he needs her help to overcome his humiliation. For Arturo, Camila is all that is perfect in the world. She's beautiful, fiery, smart, and hardworking. He believes she's too good for him, and she knows it too. Vera wants Arturo to talk to her as if he were talking to Camila. She believes it would help him move on from the way things happened the day before. They do a roleplay, in which Vera plays Princess Camila and Arturo is the famous writer. The roleplay works, and they get intimate. Vera is happy that someone felt desire for her despite her scars. Arturo walks home on cloud 9. He doesn't feel emasculated like before. With Vera, things are easy. His happiness is about to come to an end. There's an earthquake, and Vera passes away under the rubble. Arturo goes back to her, but it's too late. Vera's passing away strikes a chord with Arturo. He realizes how fleeting life can be. When he goes back to the hotel, he decides to write a story for her. He receives another letter from the editor. This time he receives $250 to write a novel. Arturo isn't as happy as he thought he would have been. He doesn't feel like writing a novel, and he's worried he won't be able to. Later on, he receives an unexpected visit. It's Camila, and she doesn't look well. She has a bruise on her eye from someone attacking her. Arturo questions her, but she doesn't give him a truthful answer. She doesn't know where to go or what to do. She's tired of always struggling. Arturo knows Sammy hurt Camila, and he takes care of her. The next day, Arturo invites her to move to the beach with him, and she agrees. On the way, Arturo finds out Camila smokes and asks her to quit, otherwise, she might be deported. She promises she will. He rents a beautiful house right in front of the beach. Camila is very excited about it. Days go by, and they are surprisingly living in peace. Arturo even buys a puppy for Camila. Arturo starts writing his novel, but it's not easy. He doesn't like anything he writes. After a while in blissful happiness, Camila asks Arturo what she's doing there. She doesn't know what her purpose is, and she's certain that he won't want to have anything romantic with her. Arturo disagrees. She starts seducing him, and this time things work out. They spend a lovely evening together, and Camila begs him to not let go of her. He promises he won't. The next day, Arturo wakes her up with breakfast in bed, much to Camila's surprise. She has never been treated like that before by anyone. He also gives her a book, and a handbook to become an American citizen. He will teach her how to read in English so she can do the test. He also continues writing his novel, and things are flowing smoothly. Days go by, and they are happier than ever. Camila learns how to read, and finishes reading the book he gifted her. Arturo is very proud of her. Now that Camila knows how to read more, she can try to read what Arturo writes. One day, he invites her to go out with him to the city, but she refuses. She doesn't want to leave the house. She's afraid of the stairs, and what people will say about them. Arturo finds out that she has a piece of his work, and reads it to her. It's about his childhood, and how people made fun of him because of his heritage. She finally relents and agrees to go with him to town. It will be their first date. As Camila gets dressed for the date, she starts coughing hard and sees that there's blood. It can only mean one thing. She has the same disease as Sammy. Camila is scared, but she tries to push it aside for the date. They go to the movies, but people move seats when they see them. It bothers Camila. She leaves after only a few minutes. She has another coughing fit, but smokes to ease it. Arturo knows she smoked, and it upsets him because she promised she would quit. She's more relaxed and they go back home. On their way back, they argue because of her smoking, and their bubble of happiness bursts. Camila accuses him of being ashamed of being seen with her, but Arturo denies it. He loves her, and he's not ashamed of her. Camila disagrees and says that if he wasn't, he would marry her. Arturo is speechless. Camila leaves him, and Arturo has to walk home to an empty house. He finds out that she even took the dog. Arturo packs his things and goes after her. He can't find her anywhere. Weeks go by, and he receives a letter from Sammy saying that Camila is sick and he won't take care of her. Arturo goes after her, and finds her living in a dingy house in the middle of nowhere. He wants to take her back, but she doesn't want to go. She doesn't want to feel inferior anymore. Arturo says that he's there because he loves her and wants to marry her. Camila laughs at the cruelty of fate, because she knows she won't make it. They hug, and she confesses she loves him too. She asks him to be nicer to people in the future, to try and make good impressions. Camila is happy that she had the chance to see him again. They kiss one last time, and Camila passes away in his arms. Arturo buries her in the desert and goes back to Los Angeles. Years later, as a successful and rich writer, Arturo goes back to the place, but her grave isn't there. He opens his novel and reads the part he read to Camila before their first date. He tosses the book into the desert with tears in his eyes and leaves, saying goodbye to the love of his life once and for all.